What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we need to take a little bit of a look at the top 10 cards, well, the top 10 Shadows cards from the new Worlds Collide expansion of Keyforge. As always, I've done my little poll up on the Facebook group. Huge shout out to everyone that joined in, answered, gave their opinions, etc. Shadows has always been the best house. Even though I did a video early on saying Logos was the best house. Ignore that video. Turns out I was massively wrong. I had a reason, but no, I was wrong. Can it keep up in Worlds Collide? Still a pretty good house. Still a lot of good cards. Couple of honourable mentions before we get going properly. First of all, the plants. Brobnar plant and Logos plant and all of the plants. They're all the same. 1 power, 0 armor creature with elusive. And after a player chooses that house as their active house, you gain an amber. So if you've got a Logos plant down, your opponent chooses Logos, you gain an amber. You choose Logos, you gain an amber. Really, really fun. Far better if your opponent is also playing the house associated with your plant. And there is no Shadows plant, unfortunately. If there was, it would be the best of them. But there isn't. Boo! We can also take a quick look at Gambling Den. I love Gambling Den. Gambling Den's an artifact, gives you an amber bonus, and at the start of each player's turn, that player may name a house. If they do, you reveal the top card of that player's deck. If they got it right, they gain 2 amber, otherwise they lose 2 amber. Now, there are going to be times where you know exactly what's on top of the deck. Maybe you use Navigator Alley on the previous turn, such that you know what your top card is going to be. Maybe you've done the maths and you know that there are only Logos cards left in your deck, because there's like 1 card left in your deck and you know it's Logos. You've done the maths, you've added up the cards and you discard the cards on your field, the cards in your hand. Or maybe you're just behind and you need the amber and it's a bit of a gamble, but you might as well. I like Gambling Den. But in at number 10, Hugger Mugger. Oh, as a side note, a bunch of people voted for Kaimor Eclipse when I did the poll. Yeah, I'm not putting that in the top 10, I'm sorry. It's an action card that shovels each flank creature into its owner's deck. Now, sometimes it's going to be amazing. You get rid of 2 of your opponent's creatures. Similarly, you get to shuffle 2 of your creatures back into the deck so that you can use them later. But there are far too many times this is going to be super awkward and you're not going to want to use it. And it doesn't give you an amber bonus, so no. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, not doing it. But in at number 10, Hugger Mugger. I like Hugger Mugger. It is a 3 power, 0 armor creature with elusive. That is to say, the first time you're attacked each turn, nothing happens. The second attack is when it all kicks off. When you play it, you capture an amber. And then if your opponent has more keys fought than you, you steal an amber. Now, it's a play skill, which means it's a one-time deal. But you get to capture 1 and hopefully steal 1, especially if you're behind. And I don't mind this so much because, alright, maybe you're not behind on prizes. Cool. I'm alright with that. Because you see, if you're not behind on prizes, who cares? Like, if you're not behind on keys, you don't need so much help, so I'm kind of alright with it. If I'm honest with you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm cool with it. Yeah. I like Hugger Mugger. Capturing and stealing in 1 card. Great amber control. Happy Wassy. In at number 9, Fidget. Fidget's one of my favourite Shadows cards from the set. 2 power, 0 armour, again with elusive, as so many of these creatures in Shadows do. And when you reap, you discard a random card from your opponent's archives or the top card of their deck. If it's an action, play it as if it were yours. Now, there's going to be some spectacular misplays here, because you're going to hit something like Unlocked Gateway. Unlocked Gateway is one of the worst ones you could hit. Because firstly, it's a complete board wipe, yours and your opponent's. You both lose all your creatures. Secondly, it's an Omega card, so it ends your turn. There are going to be times this backfires, but there's going to be other times where you play something like Miasma, and then your opponent isn't allowed to forge a key next turn. Actually, Keyhammer would be another spectacularly bad option, because Keyhammer, you unforge a key your opponent forged last turn, and then they gain 6 amber. If they didn't forge a key last turn, they still gain the 6 amber. That's a very bad thing. But more often than not, this is going to be great. In at number 9, Javinda. I like Javinda. 2 power, 0 armor, once again with elusive. And when you reap, you deal 2 damage to a creature. If this damage destroys that creature, you steal an amber. And this will probably be reminding a bunch of you of Seeker Needle, and it should, except Seeker Needle gains an amber, and this steals an amber. And you do it while you're reaping. You reap, you gain an amber, and you deal a damage, and hopefully you then get to steal an amber. That's great. And you can do it to your own creature. Now, the good news is that Bad Penny is in the set. And that means that what you can essentially do, if you've got Bad Penny, play Bad Penny, and then just destroy it with Javinda. And oh look, now you get to steal an amber. Look for decks with this and Bad Penny. It is a great combo. But reaping while dealing damage and stealing, yeah, that's pretty great. In at number 7, Inky Gloom. It is an action card that stops your opponent using creatures to reap on their next turn. It's brilliant. We've seen stuff like Fogify in the past, which stops your opponent using creatures to fight on their next turn. This stops your opponent reaping. And I made this point before, but it's really interesting to note that Fogify gives you an amber bonus, but Inky Gloom doesn't give you an amber bonus, which is basically the designer's way of saying they think that reaping is generally more important than fighting. If your opponent's built up a big battle line, we've all been in those games where your opponent has a chance to just reap to victory. Well, the good news is they can't reap to victory if they're not allowed to reap, and if you play this, they're not allowed to reap. Ha! In at number 6, the Shadow Council. I adore the Shadow Council. 3 power, 0 armor, oh look, with elusive. If it's in the center of your battle line, it gains the action Steal 2 Amber. Yeah, it's a leader. There's a leader for every house in Worlds Collide. This is the Shadow's leader, and the leaders gain an extra thing when they're in the center of your battle line. Essentially, this is stealing 2 amber. And stealing 2 amber is great. We've seen a bunch of creatures like Dodger, for instance, that have an action that steals 1 amber. Well, this steals 2. Now, to be fair, Dodger is when you fight, but then when you fight, you might get destroyed. Whereas action, you can just keep doing it over and over and over. Stealing amber is great. Stealing 2 amber is really great. I mean, this is the equivalent of a Ronnie Risklocks if your opponent's got 7 amber or more. And we all like Ronnie, who incidentally is in Worlds Collide. Cool. In at number 5, Trust No One, except Wassy. Wassy won't let you down. It's an action card. When you play it, you steal an amber. Cool. But if you've got no friendly creatures in play, you instead steal 1 amber for each house represented among enemy creatures, up to a maximum of 3. So if they've got creatures in play from all 3 of their houses, you steal 3 amber. Although if you've got no creatures and they've got no creatures, you actually steal nothing, which is sad. Unless there's been a complete board wipe, you're stealing at least 1 amber. You might steal up to 3, and it gets better if you're in a bit of a bad position. I like it. I mean, that's probably why it's at number 5. In at number 4, Hit and Run. An action card that deals 2 damage to a creature and lets you return a friendly creature to your hand. So really here, you're just on the lookout for really good play skill. Something like Fidget. Okay, it's a risky one, but still fun. Ronnie Risklocks, we mentioned him earlier. Ronnie's pretty good. Steal 2 amber if your opponent's got 7 or more. Great. This puts it back into your hand and deals 2 damage to a creature, which is really good. I really like Hit and Run. You might not have a creature you want to return to your hand, but if you've got a play skill, this is a great, great one to use. In at number 3, probably my personal pick for number 1, Key Forgery. Key Forgery is an artifact, gives you an amber bonus, and if your opponent would forge a key, they need to name a house, and then you reveal a random card from your hand. If they didn't guess the house right, you destroy Key Forgery and they do not forge the key. If they guess right, then Key Forgery stays and hopefully stops them forging again. This will hopefully at one point stop your opponent forging a key. That is absolutely wonderful. The whole point of the game is to forge keys. It's called Key Forge. Any card that can do this reliably is great. It's kind of like Miasma, except Miasma only stops them forging a key at the beginning of their turn. If your opponent tries to key cheat using something like Key Charge, this will stop that as well. It's kind of brilliant. In at number 2, the combination of Chain Gang and Subtle Chain. Honestly, I didn't feel comfortable separating the pair of these out. I generally only put them together if they're a special rare that actually rely on each other, i.e. they come as a pair. These don't, but I still love them. Chain Gang is a free power, 0 armor creature which doesn't have elusive. Yowza. After you play Subtle Chain, you ready Chain Gang. So you basically ready it more often. You get to use it more often. And it's got an action that steals an amber. We like stealing amber. And then shuffle a Subtle Chain from your discard pile back into your deck to reuse again and ready it again. Not only are you stealing an amber here, but you should be able to ready this more often than usual. I absolutely love it. Now, as for Subtle Chain itself, it is an action card, gives you an amber bonus, your opponent discards a random card from their hand. It's not out and out phenomenal, but it gives you an amber bonus, and it's nice little bit of hand disruption. And at the end of the day, you don't need much from this, yeah? Remember, most of the value you're getting is from being able to ready your card over and over and over again. That's where this is really coming in. So any bonus you get from Subtle Chain is absolutely brilliant. But then at number 1, it's Hawk. Hawk is an action card, gives you an amber bonus. You destroy an artifact. If you do, you gain an amber. So worst case scenario, you gain an amber. Best case scenario, you gain 2 amber while destroying an artifact. Interesting to note, it is an artifact, not an enemy artifact. So you might be forced to destroy your own. Please be very careful with that. But the fact of the matter is, we've seen so many games decided by artifacts. Artifacts like Heart of the Forest. It's an example I give quite a lot because it's a ridiculous card. Heart of the Forest stops the player forging a key if they're ahead. So what you do is you play a Heart of the Forest deck with a key cheating card, and essentially it stops your opponent forging keys 2 and 3. So either you just get ahead in the game and win, or your opponent's up 2 keys to 1. They're not allowed to forge a key, because Heart of the Forest says, you're ahead, you can't do this. And then you just wait for a turn where you can forge a key at the beginning of your turn, then key cheat, and your opponent can't win. Or we've seen things like, we've got a combination of ridiculous ones in Brobnar, like, for instance, Iron Obelisk, whereby your opponent's keys cost +1 amber for each friendly damaged Brobnar creature, or Grump Buggy, which says that each player's cost 1 more amber to forge keys for each creature their opponent has power 5 or higher. So if you've got lots of big Brobnar creatures and you can damage them, and you've got both of these artifacts, and we have seen decks like this make deep, deep runs into Vault Tours, you can be paying like 15, 16 amber, I'm not exaggerating, just to forge a key. So we need an answer to those. Hawk is your answer, and it feeds you amber at the same time. It's kind of ridiculous, if I'm honest with you, ladies and gentlemen. It's kind of ridiculous. So there we go. Those are the top 10 cards, Shadows cards and Worlds Collide. But I'd like to know what you think about all of these. So let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice, and maybe you give me a full top 10 and then we can be friends. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy. That's where we talk about games, Keyforge, but also a bunch of others. And then consider checking out patreon.com/PTCGradio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, tell me what videos to make, and so on. It's a lot of fun. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wassy Plays.